Hello, I'm Anna, and thanks for joining me again on Inflation Watch. In this series, we share Bank of Jamaica's look at the factors influencing inflation in Jamaica. So, first off, do you know what inflation is? And not to worry, I'm here to help. So, inflation is defined as the general rate of increase in the price of goods and services as measured over a 12-month period. Now, it's important to know that inflation is not measured by BOJ. It's actually calculated by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, otherwise called Statin. BOJ, though, is responsible for ensuring that inflation stays within a set range, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about two new terms that you might not be familiar with: headline inflation and tight monetary policy. Alright, so listen up. Headline or annual inflation at October 2023 was 5.1%. That was below the figure at September 2023 of 5.9%. Okay, so you see that's going down, and lower than the outturns for the previous 4 months. Inflation in October also marked the second consecutive month and the third time this year that inflation fell within Bank of Jamaica's target inflation rate of 4 to 6%. Inflation at October was also much lower than the peak of 11.8% recorded in April 2022. The general slowdown in inflation from last year's high point resulted from Bank of Jamaica's tight monetary policy. Remember that term? All right, so by tight monetary policy, we mean three things. One, we reduce the Jamaica dollar liquidity. That means how much cash is available in the system. That's cash and other assets that can be quickly converted to cash. Number two, we held the policy interest rate steady at 7.0%. That's the interest rate paid by BOJ on the current accounts that deposit-taking institutions have at the central bank. And number three, BOJ maintained a relatively stable foreign exchange rate, within a band of course, which continued to reduce the impact of imported inflation. A general fall in the cost of some imported commodities like grains also helped to reduce inflation in Jamaica over the period to October. Inflation expectations are also being lowered as more people like you gain greater confidence that inflation is being reduced. Now, this is all good news for consumers and businesses alike, because it shows significant success by BOJ in controlling inflation and slowing the rate of price increases throughout the economy. The welcome slowdown in the pace of price increases as at October 2023 compared to the same period last year mainly reflected declines in electricity costs and smaller increases in processed food prices. Now, having said all of that, the fact that there was some inflation as at October 2023 means that generally prices were still higher than they were 12 months ago. This resulted mainly from continued increases in food prices, as well as higher costs for restaurants and accommodation services. Prices as at October 2023 were also higher, partly due to the impact of the earlier increase in the national minimum wage. So, as we conclude or look at inflation up to October 2023, we have seen a welcome slowdown in the general level of price increases. Would you agree? We also discussed the factors that influenced the 5.1% rate of price increase over the last 12 months. Now, guess what? You're all up to date on the inflation news. Join us again for our next episode when Bank of Jamaica will bring you some other news on Inflation Watch, where we continue to track the inflation level and explore the factors influencing price increases in Jamaica. I'm Anna. Until next time, take care.
Join us next month on Inflation Watch to see what the inflation number will be.